Her husband never graduated college, never, I think, went to one semester of community college and then dropped out and is one of the biggest producers in Hollywood. Come on.
All this stuff that we've been told is a bunch of malarkey. I mean, I know that we have to have education, and that was something personally I wanted for myself after going through a horrible divorce. I felt like when I dropped out of school, I dropped out because of this guy. He wanted me, he didn't want me to go, all that. So when I went back and finished, that was more of a personal accomplishment for me. It wasn't that I thought it was going to change my life, because I wanted to be a comedian. And I do think that kids have been given this illusion that, oh, if you go and you get this 4-year degree and then everything's going to be all right. This is what I think. And I know nobody's asking me for my opinion, but I believe that you've got to have grit in this world. If you teach a child to survive and be able to, somebody asked me this the other day. Well, I'll tell you whose podcast I was on, Sebastian Maniscalco with his pediatrician. And they said to me, what are some of the things you think you did right raising children? What are the things, you did wrong? And I said, I did a lot wrong. I know there's a lot of things that I wish I could have done differently, but I know this is what we did right. We let our children have disappointment. And my children went to a little private school in Knoxville. And it was a very sweet school. It wasn't the hoop-de-doo school. There was a hoop-de-doo school. This was not that. This was a little Christian school that mine went to. It was sweet. And we loved it. It was like a big family. But there were a lot of people there that did not want their children to suffer or have any kind of disappointment. So we had parents that, say you didn't make cheerleading in 6th grade, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But it's not the end of the world.
Nope.
So there would be people that would go up there and I'm going to get that cheer coach fired unless they put my baby on that. I never came from that perspective. I always thought, that's terrible. And I'll sit here and cry with you. And I'm so sorry you're disappointed, but let's work harder. If you want to try it again next year, let's do what we got to do for you to make it next year or whatever. I feel like you have to go through suffering and maybe it builds character. And maybe that's from things that happened to me in childhood that were horrible. And then marrying and going through that horrible time, at 21 and you talking about, you got a DUI, you were race car, drag racing and doing, we all had to go through things and then you learn from them but it gives you grit.
Yes.
And if you got through it, and you survived it, then you could go on and do the next thing. Life is hard. It kicks you in the teeth. Down here on this earth is a lot of suffering. And I believe, as a believer, in heaven, there will be no suffering. This world is where it's a nightmare. And you got to be able to teach your children to make it in this world. And I know there's people that go to Harvard and we need people that are going to be doctors and all that. And I get that. But for the most part, the successful people I've met and that make it in this world have got grit. It had nothing to do. Lord, there's a bunch of people who've gotten degrees that, that have meant nothing. It just gave you the grit that whatever happened to you during it, you got through it.
Yep.
And I think of my little daughter-in-law and she met my boy in college. She had to work like 3 jobs. She's from a single mom. That she always wanted, they had her mama gave her a good life, but she just wanted more out of life. And that little thing you could drop her in Beirut and she'd make it. But she's got that grit and that drive. Yeah. And I just hope that I think we've given that to our children. And so your baby, my husband is in the mobile home industry. And he has hired and fired and done 1 million people. And he said, when my baby said she wanted to go to makeup school, he said, I love trade schools. And he said, and I think none of that, it does not matter to me that she does not want to go to finish college. He goes, when I hire people, I look at people and go, can you do this job? Can you fit in this culture?
Yeah.
Not, what was your GPA? Where did you go to school? He said, I never ask anybody that.
No, nobody does. Almost nobody does. No.
Nobody does.
It doesn't matter.
It does not.
I agree with you so much. It's so competitive to get into college and I feel like we are a pass-fail society now. You either go to the best college ever or you're a failure.
Right.
And that's so incorrect. My husband took 7 years to graduate college. I did not graduate college. We're doing better than most. Our best friend out here, the wife is Chinese. She was a refugee from Vietnam. She had to bust her ass to get through college. Didn't get to go to the college she wanted to. Had to go to the college that offered her scholarship, and is amazing. Her husband never graduated college. Never, I think, went to one semester of community college and then dropped out and is one of the biggest producers in Hollywood. Come on.